It's just a marvellous example of sheer determination, stamina to get back to its spawning grounds. When you see that for the first time, it just gives you this powerful impression of what nature is all about, that you can give it all and give your life trying to get to that goal, because many of the salmon don't make it, most of the salmon in fact don't make it back to the spawning ground. Sockeye salmon, female, produces about 3,000 eggs on average, and to sustain that population, just 2 have to make it back. Hopefully 1 male, 1 female.
Well, 40 years is a really long time.
Yes.
And it's seen a lot of changes. So over that time, we've seen a fundamental paradigm shift in the way we think about science and knowledge. Then the paradigm shifted to understanding more systems approaches and sustainability and how that should intersect with our food system.
I would say the biggest thing is the industrialization. I mean, it always was an industry, but the industrialization of the industry, the mechanizing, the capitalization of the fishing industry. I mentioned the Mifflin plan in the 90s. The real big first switch was something called the Davis plan in the 70s, where before you could buy a fish boat and get a license and go fishing. And once the Davis plan came in, that was it. It was capped. Since then, there had been no new salmon boat licenses since the 70s. If you wanted a new boat, you bought an old one. Or you bought the license off a boat that was being retired.
Land tenure and how we view land and whether it's plentiful or scarce. I think early on we had a plentiful mentality, and that allowed development and various programs to move forward without much concern about running out of land. I think we have now shifted that into a scarcity mentality where we don't have that much land and we need to preserve it and maximize its use and benefits for society.
I mean, we've become far too efficient at taking seafood out of our oceans, and our oceans just can't keep up with us. So it's really brought to light the fact that sustainability issues around seafood are a major concern, and we need to have proper management and regulations in place to ensure that we're not overfishing fisheries, and having programs like OceanWise to educate consumers around these issues and ensure that they're making better choices are critically important.
I think there's been, in 40 years, which is most of my research life, there's been an increased consideration of fish conservation, because we're actually taxed the wild fish to limits and even beyond limits in some places. And I've seen significant improvements in conservation, both in habitat protection and overfishing.
Food illiteracy. People don't know, they don't know about where their food comes from, they don't know about what they eat, and they don't care.
So we saw this as a good indication that consumers, they want to do the right thing, they want to be able to choose sustainable seafood options, but it needs to be sufficiently easy for them to do so. So that's really kind of how OceanWise came about. We said, okay, well, we just need to make it dead easy for people to identify what those best choices are. So by highlighting good sustainable seafood options on the menu with the OceanWise logo, it makes it easier for people to pick out those good choices.
With a little bit of research, knowing what is and isn't sustainable, it's quite easy to find out, right? Whether you choose an albacore tuna over a bluefin. Well, you know if you're buying bluefin because you're paying a lot of money, but like over a yellowfin or a skipjack, or and just in general eating locally. Like even if you want to have shrimp, well, the dried shrimp in BC is way better managed than stuff done in other areas, or the salinated waters in Vietnam, where people are polluting themselves by making these rivers into feedlots. It's like you can do a lot of good by simply consuming the right stuff.
Growth of aquaculture industry to what I think is is moving towards a sustainable model that we should all be proud of. I think most people that go into places like Costco to get fish will get some wild fish, and they'll also get farmed Atlantic salmon.
Well, I mean, our ultimate goal for Oceanwise is that sustainable seafood be the only option for Canadians, as well as for the rest of the world, ultimately. We envision a future where where we have diverse fisheries and aquaculture operations that are able to provide a consistent supply of seafood and provide the vital benefits, environmental benefits that the oceans provide as well. We think that industry really plays a major role in affecting this change towards sustainability, and it's going to be essential that both industry and conservation organizations work together to move the needle forward and make sure that they're sourcing sustainable seafood options. So it's critically important that industry be involved and to make sure that they're following good management and yeah.
I just got back from London, UK, and I know I either had Irish, Scottish or Norwegian Atlantic salmon, and I just took one look at it and said, no thank you, I'll wait till I get back to BC. It is such a superior product.